Hello, everyone. Welcome to this lesson on Introduction to Computers. Before we begin, I would like you to think about something for a moment. How many times have you used a computer today? Maybe you have sent a WhatsApp message, checked your emails, watched a video, or searched for information online. What many people don't realize is that all these activities involve computers. In fact, computers have become such a normal part of our lives that we often use them without even think about it. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what exactly is a computer? Oh, how does a computer actually work? Well, that's exactly what we are going to explore in this lesson. Before we dive into the lesson, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering today. We'll begin by understanding what a computer is and explore the different types of computers we use in everyday life. We'll then look at the basic functions of computer and see how information is processed. We will also discuss the difference between data and information, explore the characteristics of computers, and finally, examine their advantages and limitations. Don't worry, if some of these concepts sound unfamiliar right now, by the end of this lesson, they will make much more sense. So, let's begin with a simple question. What is a computer? Now, let's answer a very important question. What is a computer? When many people hear the computer, they immediately think of a desktop computer sitting on a desk. But computers come in many forms. Your laptop is a computer. Your smartphone is also a computer. Even devices such as smart TVs contain computer system. In simple terms, a computer is an electronic device that accepts data, processes it, stores it, and produces useful information. You enter numbers, the phone performs calculations, and then displays the answer. That is a simple example of a computer at work. Throughout this lesson, you will notice that computers follow the same basic process. They receive data, work on it, and provide a result. Now that we understand what a computer is, now let's look at some common types of computers. Not all computers are the same. They come in different sizes and are designed for different purposes. Supercomputers are the most powerful computers and are used for complex tasks such as scientific research and weather forecasting. Mainframe computers are commonly used by large organizations such as banks and government institutions to process huge amount of data. The computers that most of us use every day are called microcomputers. These include desktop computers, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. We also have workstation computers, which are powerful computers used for specialized tasks such as graphic design and video editing. In addition, mini computers and embedded computers, which are designed for specific organization and automated functions. The important thing to remember is that computers come in different forms, but they will help us process information and perform tasks efficiently. Now that we have seen different types of computers, let's look at how a computer actually works. Before we see how a computer works, let's first understand its basic functions. Every computer performs 5 main functions. It receives data, process it, store it, produce result, and control all activities within the system. These functions work together whenever we use a computer, whether we are typing a document, browsing the internet, or using a mobile phone. Now, let's see how these functions work together in sequence. Now, let's see how a computer actually works. Think about using a calculator. First, you enter numbers, that's input. The calculator performs calculations, that's processing. It may temporarily keep the numbers in memory, that's storage. Finally, it displays the answer on the screen, that's output. This same processing happens in everyday computer system. Whenever a computer receives data, processes it, store it, and produces output, it is following what we call the information processing cycle. Now, let's look at the difference between data and information. Take a look at the number 85. By itself, it is just data because it doesn't tell us much. However, when we say that a student scored 85 marks in computer studies, the data now has meaning. It becomes information. So, I hope you can now see the difference. Data is simply a collection of raw facts, while information is data that has been organized and give meaning. In simple terms, data tells us what, while information helps us understand what it is. Before we move on, let's take a moment to understand some of the special qualities that make computers different from other machines. First, computers work very fast. Tasks that might take a person several minutes or even hours can be completed by a computer in just a few seconds. Another important characteristic is accuracy. When given the correct instructions and data, computers can produce very accurate results. Computers also have large storage capacity. They can store huge amounts of data and information for future use. In addition, computer can perform the same task over and over again without getting tired or losing performance. And finally, computers support multitasking. For example, you can listen to music, browse the internet, and work on a document at the same time. These characteristics are some of the reasons why computers have become an important part of our daily lives. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Can you imagine going a whole week without using a computer, smartphone, or the internet? For many of us, that will be very difficult. And that's because computers make our lives much easier in many ways. For example, they help us communicate with other people through emails, messages, and video calls. They also help us learn. Today, you can access books, videos, and even attend classes online. Computers also help us work faster. A task that might take hours to complete manually can often be done in just few seconds, few minutes using a computer. Another advantage is storage. Instead of keeping piles of papers, documents, we can store thousands of files on a computer and retrieve them whenever we need them. And of course, computers can give us quick access to information from almost anywhere in the world. So, it's not surprising that computers have become such an important part of our daily lives. Now, we have talked about many benefits of computers, but let's be honest. Computers are not perfect. Let me ask you this. Have you ever spent so much time on your phone or computer that your eyes felt tired or your neck started hurting? That's one of the disadvantages. Another challenge is cybercrime. Unfortunately, not everyone uses technology for good purposes. Some people use computers to steal information or trick people online. We can also become too dependent on technology. Sometimes, when the internet goes down, it suddenly feels like everything has stopped, right? Computers have also changed the workplace. While they help people work faster, some jobs that were once done by people are now performed by machines and automated systems. And finally, not everything we see online is true. False information, often called fake news, can spread very quickly through digital platforms. So, the key message here is simple. Computers are powerful and useful tools, but we must learn to use them wisely. After looking at the advantages and disadvantages of computers, let's talk about their limitations. Sometimes people think computers can do everything, but that's not true. No matter how powerful a computer is, it cannot think like a human being. It can only follow the instructions it has been given. Computers also do not have feelings or emotions. They cannot feel happy, sad, excited, or disappointed the way people do. Another limitation is that computers require instructions. If no instructions are provided, the computer simply cannot perform the task. In addition, computers cannot make human judgment. They may process information very quickly, but they cannot understand situations or make decisions the same way humans can. Finally, computer system can be expensive to buy and maintain, especially for large organizations. So, the important things to remember is that computers are powerful tools, but they still depend on humans to use them effectively. Well done. We have reached the end of this lesson. Today, we've covered quite a lot together. We started by understanding what a computer is, looked at different types of computers, and explored the basic functions that make computers work. We also learned the difference between data and information, discussed the characteristics of computers, and examined the advantages, disadvantages, and limitations. I hope you now have a much clearer understanding of computers and how they fit into our everyday lives. In our next lesson, we'll move a step further and explore computer hardware. Thank you for learning with me today.